All right, folks, welcome to ITM 421. I'm Bob Hendry, and today is Monday, March 5th, 2012. So, welcome. Hopefully, we're all in the right spot. Happy Monday, everyone. Everyone have a nice weekend. It's 55 degrees out. There's baseball on the radio. It's warming up. What's that? It snowed last night by me a little bit. But you want to know what, though? We're not out of the woods yet. I mean, we're already at the beginning of March, but if this is like your first win, it could be. I mean, if this is your first like visit or into the Chicago area, there's a joke that we kind of skip spring, and there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, where it might be cold all the way through the middle of April, even in the May sometimes, where it'll be like 40 degrees, 43 degrees. It's rainy, it's cold. And you're like, well, where's spring yet? And all of a sudden, you'll get like a heat wave, and that was it. So I don't know. It's hopefully this will be one of those years because living in Chicago is kind of cool because I mean, it is a beautiful city and everything. I've lived here my whole life. It is a gorgeous city. The only problem is it's really cruddy, 9 months out of the year. There's really only 3 months of at least decent weather. And out of that, you could probably count the perfect days on maybe two hands. Like where you might have 10 or 15 perfect days a year where it's like 75 degrees, 80 degrees, and like, humidity. So hopefully we're going to have a spring this year. All right, folks, this is what we're going to do today. We're kind of in a period of this class, we're kind of turning the corner a little bit. We are going into topic 5 today, which is introduction to stored procedures and triggers. And kind of, let me explain to you where we're at as far as this course goes. Now, topic 5, or what we're going to be covering between now and the next few weeks, certainly the next 6 weeks or so, is we're going to start going over some database programming. What we've done so far is we've done some data modeling, and from there we went, through the whole thing of putting together logical models and physical models. We went over some SQL. We went over normalization. We went over just a ton of lab exercises and projects of normalizing non-normalized data models. So what we're going to do now is starting in topic 5 is we're going to take a departure from that and start going into some database programming. Now that we have all the, I won't say basics because it's really almost like another topic. It's not like we went over the easy stuff and now this is the hard stuff, but the mode of what we're going to be covering is going to be different, where up to now what we've been doing is we've been building databases. What we're going to do from this point on is we're going to program them and start writing some code to actually do some stuff within the database. Now, again, keeping to what I try to do is we're going to try to stay generic as possible with insofar as the types of stuff that we're going to be doing. I mean, obviously, we're using Oracle, which is our database. So if we're doing database programming, we're going to have to learn some Oracle code, which is called PL SQL, which we're going to cover pretty much for the next, at least the next couple days or so. But I'm going to try to emphasize kind of more design considerations, such as where you use these specific types of programs. Now, like for example, if you're familiar with writing traditional code in any language. Pick a language from COBOL to Java to PHP to anything. You're used to basically either writing procedural-driven code, which means you kind of start from the beginning of a program, you go all the way to the end, or event-driven code, which means that you're reacting to system changes or to user changes. Now, we have that sort of kind of paradigm in writing database code as well, insofar as the types of different programs that you can write, what they do when they get executed. So we're going to emphasize that as a class as much as possible. Again, this is going to be 50% coding and 50% getting something to work, but it's also going to be 50% design, architecture, and implementation. So we're going to kind of mix them both together. What I don't want to get us stuck on is I don't want us to get stuck on the specific syntax. Now, again, this is a class on database programming, not necessarily a class on programming for Oracle databases. So I'm going to kind of shepherd you through a lot of the syntax as far as Oracle goes. Like, for example, when we start going through flow of control statements like if statements and while statements, and we're going to kind of go through that really quickly because that's syntax, and syntax is something that you guys can get on your own and not have me drill it into you. Like, for example, we don't need to spend an hour on an if statement in class where basically you could do that outside of class and get some things working. You're sitting over there today. I'm used to you over here. My whole dynamic is different now because now you're over there. So my balance is different. So It's funny because it's I'm just giving you a hard time, but I actually do notice that because I'm really good at faces and I'm really good at names, but I'm not very good at the faces and the names part. But I'm really good at where people sit. If you ever really want to completely confuse me, switch spots, and then I'll completely forget who you are. I'll start calling you what's your face and what's your name again. Just switch spots on me. But all right, so what we're going to cover today is we're going to start going over the concept of database triggers. Now, let me abstract out the next, for the next 10 minutes or so, the two things that we're going to learn about this week, which is topic 5. And again, let me open up Notepad. And let me make my font a little bit bigger. All right, for the first two types of programs we're going to write is we're going to be writing triggers and stored procedures. Triggers and stored, S-T-O-R-E-D, procedures. And we're going to start with triggers. Now, we're going to be writing in a language called PL/SQL, which is the Oracle syntax for writing database programs. Now, anyone for like an extra credit bonus participation point know what PL/SQL stands for? I think I actually don't remember. I think it's Programming Language SQL. I've been writing it for 12 years, but I don't think I've ever looked up exactly what it stands for. Someone asked me the other day what XML was the abbreviation for, and I completely just drew a blank. Abbreviations. This is what I have to say about PL/SQL. Now, every database that you can write code in has its own syntax. If you're in SQL Server, it's transact. DB2 has their own. Oracle has their own. They're very analogous to different programming languages. There's not one one base unified language other than SQL itself. That's probably a good point, because SQL, at least the SQL that we've been using up to date, it's been ANSI, which means that we could use it more or less in any database management system. But the actual code that implements this stuff is very proprietary, and it differs from database management system, the database management system. There isn't a unified language, just like there's not a unified language that's a non-database language. You're going to work someplace, you're going to have Java or .NET or COBOL or RPG or PHP or any of these other, older or newer languages. Databases are pretty much the same. They fall under that same category. With that in mind, again, just to repeat that, we're not going to spend too much time on the syntax of PL/SQL. We're just going to go over concepts, and we're going to do some coding, but not really too much of it. What we're going to do is we're going to concentrate today on two types of different programs that we can write. And again, we're going to concentrate this week on triggers and stored procedures. Today will be triggers, maybe into Wednesday, and then stored procedures afterwards. The good news is these two types of database programs are implemented in any major database management system. So a trigger isn't. There's no such thing as a trigger just in an Oracle system or a stored procedure just in an Oracle system. Stored procedures are stored procedures across any database management system. They mean the same thing. And triggers mean the same thing architecturally across any database management system. So what I'm going to do is kind of go over the differences between these guys here. Now, here we have a trigger. Now, a trigger is a piece of code that's executed upon, and I'm going to put on, how about data events? I'm putting such as updates, inserts, or deletes.